Hello, my name is William Windmill, and these are things I wish I had known 15 years in the past when I was learning perspective. I don't have too many things to say about perspective, but after everything I've learned throughout the years, here's the 5 things. My goodness, what a clickbait title. Number 1. Everything is drawn in perspective. Even if it doesn't look like it, then it probably means that it's a 1-point perspective. Go and study 1, 2, 3 points perspectives and get it into your system so that you can move on and never have to think about it again. 2. There are a few tools that I use to show the illusion of perspective. The first one is T-lines. Whenever you have 2 shapes that are overlapping, those are huge because they really show depth. The second thing is for shortening. When you have 2 objects and they're the same size, say my 2 hands, you put one further back. The fact that this is smaller makes it seem like it's further away. 3. You have counter lines. Everything from my sleeves to my neck and even patterns that are drawn. Those are things that help out a lot to describe if you're pointing towards or away from camera, which is also entangled with perspective. And then the fourth, within these 5 points, a lot of numbering here, is the horizon line. When you have shapes like circles, the horizon line really is what helps you determine if you're looking from top down or bottom up. And I guess that when you have other objects, that also works to your advantage. So sometimes you can find with a table the position of the perspective of a more cylindrical or more abstract object. When you get to organic shapes like humans, it helps out a lot to have a background to contextualize if you're looking from top down, bottom up, with legs and arms. The next thing is that we're super biased, so our brains want to even everything out, and you usually end up putting things a lot bigger than they need to be to fit into a scheme. In the example that's on screen right now, on A and B, you can kind of guess where it goes, but when you get into more extreme foreshortenings like C and D, then you're better off using tools to help you find where the actual perspective goes, instead of trying to eyeball it. Or, if you're gonna eyeball it, then just be conscious that you're biased towards evening things out, so you can compensate a little. The 5th thing, and the final one, is whenever you're in a position where you feel, man, I can't draw this perspective, this is too hard, study real life. Or use a computer-generated model. Sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Just download Blender and put rough shapes where you need them. Once you start to think about your drawing as this thing you're shooting with the camera, a lot of the perspective clicks in place. As humans, we've been training our entire life to understand perspective. It's just a little bit tricky to figure out the mathematics of it. Almost all of the artists I know these days use a form of reference or 3D to figure out all the tricky stuff so you can get to the art side. At the end, yes, it's great to be academical about perspective, but also don't make your life harder than it needs to be. Remember, you still have anatomy, shading, storytelling to figure out. So today, it's less important to be a master in perspective, but you do need to be aware of it and put some effort into making sure it works well. Because if the foundation of perspective isn't right on your drawing, at least for me, it takes me out of whatever it is I'm seeing. Unless you're doing some abstract work, in which case, why are you looking at my video? I'm an animator and classical trainer. Go. So that's it. That's William Windmill on perspective. All I have. I hope this is helpful. And if you figure out a way to create a time capsule and put this video in and send it back to me, it would save me some trouble in the past. It's a small channel, so if you like this, subscribe. I'd love to have you around. Cheers.